Markets now another day in the red on the JSE, just below 0.5% in the red, with losses across most of the bourse today. We've got Ridwaan Moolla who's standing by to talk us through those numbers. In the meantime, here's a look at how the JSE ended off the day. As I said, Ridwaan Moolla standing by. He's the CEO at Think Markets. He joins us to unpack the day's movements. A very good evening to you, Ridwaan. And let's start with the overall bourse today in the red, with losses across much of the major indices. It was in line with, I think, the European market. And I think one of the big things that people are watching still is those Fed minutes, but also business activity in the European Union not looking too great. So are people worried about global growth once again?
Yeah, good evening. So definitely you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, today what we saw was the Asian Pacific markets. That's where we start the trading day. They went immediately red when China came out with its news. Their services industry had slowed. And obviously that was now concerns whether or not China's growing. They're the world's second largest economy. And once that started, obviously it fed right through to Europe, down 1%. They coming out with some bad news as well. And obviously all of that just goes and impacts us here in South Africa. JSE, as you saw, all-share index down almost 0.5%. The only big difference was, unlike the rest of the markets, we were led by Tiger Brands. And Tiger Brands was down over 3%. But that was more on the backbone of its concerns around load shedding and obviously the water infrastructure, problems that we're having, which means that food inflation is definitely going to stay above the 10% mark. I mean, it came down to just over 11% in May, potentially may not go lower than that. So that was the big issue there for us. Obviously, the US markets, they've opened after a nice 2-day holiday. But guess what? They were also in the red. So pretty much everything today.
Yeah.
It was, like we always say, there was blood. There was blood on the floor.
Yeah, there was absolutely blood on the floor, Ridwaan. What's also seeming to be bleeding once again is the local unit, weakening quite a bit against the US dollar today. What would you say were some of the major headwinds for the local currency?
So what we've actually seen more is like you saw in the Rand, I mean, it's lost about 10 cents literally from yesterday to today. But the big thing has been, we've seen a bit of the dollar strengthening again slightly, but everyone right now is waiting for Friday. We've got the non-farmers payrolls coming out. We've got the Fed's minutes coming out. So everything is just poised and waiting for that. A bit of movement as we saw today, with the currency, especially with the Rand, that's okay. That's nothing to really stress about. Let's see what happens come Friday.
Let's get on to some, before we do, actually some company updates. A quick one on the price of Brent crude, that increasing, really worrying for people like us who are motorists and who have to, buy fuel. And so, and with the weaker Rand, it doesn't look like the medium-term outlook for the price of fuel is going to be great, particularly with what's come out from the major oil producers when it comes to oil cuts.
So both Saudi and Russia, obviously, they've cut their oil production. Obviously, that means the price will go up. Normal economic supply and demand. Obviously, we still have the demand. The supply is just getting lower. Price is going to go up. So yes, that does mean an impact for us yet again when it comes to our petrol price. I mean, we've just seen the petrol price go down, but remember, diesel went up. So, and that's going to now, obviously, we're going to now see if things stay exactly the way they are at this moment in time. Definitely going to see an increase, unfortunately, in the petrol price. I hate saying it, that. I'm always the pessimist on these things, but you know what? this is going to be, unfortunately, this is reality.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. A new reality for Remgro is its investment in Heineken, or increased investment in Heineken. They are a diversified investment firm, but this drive for the alcohol business, Ridwaan, you just can't go wrong with it, I suppose.
You know, this is something which I always say to people. It's one of the strangest things around the world, which we've seen, and mostly in South Africa also. We drink when we're sad, and we drink more when we're happy. So we're drinking. let's be honest. And yes, it's actually a very, very good investment for them. Heineken's a very good brand as well. It's a very popular brand. So really and truly something really great for Remgro. The big question is obviously around the price they're paying, but everything right now actually looks really, really good. And I think it's actually a very, very positive move by them.
And finally, Ridwaan, we've got Tongaat, an update on their business rescue, getting some financing within that process. But yesterday, RCL indicating that sugar producers in particular are under immense pressure with taxes that have been imposed on them, or levies, if you will. And apart from the cheap imports that they're dealing with, one wonders about the future of a Tongaat unit that has been struggling in business rescue for a while now. Also dealing with the dodgy accounting revelations that have come out of that business as well.
Look, take away everything from you lot with regards to even the accounting and all of these things. You know, just looking at from a sugar producing point of view, you've got increased costs right now with regards to load shedding. Then on top of that, you've got the water issues, and all of these things are just increasing their costs dramatically. There's no way they're going to be able to compete with the cheap imports that are coming in. So it's going to be a problem no matter what. And I don't see that company, you know, literally taking the next step forward and getting out of even business rescue. It's going to be exceptionally tough. If load shedding goes to stage 4, your lot is really going to have to pack it in, I think. That's my honest opinion, personal opinion, but it's going to be exceptionally tough for them to get out of the situation they're in right now, especially with the current climate that we have, with load shedding, with the water problems. And also remember the transport costs, because all of these things need to still be transported to packing and then get packed and everything else. So there's massive cost increase coming their way. They can't cope with it as far as I can see. I just don't see how they're going to get out of this mess.
That's certainly not the sweetest way to end this discussion, Ridwaan. But as always, thank you very much for your time this evening. That is Ridwaan Moolla, who's the CEO at Think Markets, giving us a wrap of the market day that was. Up next.